Hey guys, it's Quana, and I'm back. And I was trying to be cute because I found out that today is my 1 year anniversary on YouTube. Yay! But this hat is not going to stay on my head. I'm going to just sit that to the side. So I thought I would come on here and just do a quick little story time slash throw in a couple of reviews and just kind of talk to you guys. And I actually was going to kind of do like a little mukbang, but then, okay, so here we get to the story time. So I was in church today and I was telling this girl about my YouTube channel and how I had just started a booktube channel called Reading with the Teacher. Feel free to go over and check it out. But how, I had her real review, and I was like, it's almost been a year or maybe a little over. I was like, well, wait a second, how long has it been? And so I went to the channel about page and I was like, shut your mouth. Today is 1 year exactly. So I was like, well, dang, I definitely have to go on and make a little quick vid and post something up. So hence the party hat and everything like that. So I just thought I would get on here and do something. And initially I was like, well, maybe I'll get on and do like a cute little mukbang because it's lunchtime. But because of the time that I got out of church, I went through the drive-through with the kids to get them a Happy Meal, and I didn't. All I got was a McChicken and a milkshake that I consumed. Excuse me. And so now I'm full. So I was like, oh, I'll get a McChicken and then I'll come home and I'll make some sweet potato fries. But I went ahead and made the McChicken on the drive home. And even though that was about an hour or so ago, I was just full. And so I am learning and growing. And I was like, well, let's not sit here and consume something when we don't need it. And I'm about to try to work on my physical fitness. But I do have Twizzlers and ginger ale. But I'm going to stop drinking soda tomorrow. So I just thought, I'll go ahead and just drink this ginger ale. So this is going to be kind of like our mukbang. Yay, Twizzlers. Side note, movie theater candy. My go-to movie theater candy is Twizzlers and popcorn. I do Twizzlers and I do popcorn. Every once in a while, I'll throw on something snazzy and I'll get like gummy bears or hot tamales. But Twizzlers and popcorn. And I don't know about you. Tell me down below in the comments. I bite the ends off of the Twizzler and then use it as a straw. How many of you did that when you were kids? And I don't do red vines. I don't. To my understanding, it's like an East Coast, West Coast thing, right? West Coast people, y'all can speak to this. West Coast people, I think they do red vines, and East Coast people do Twizzlers. But my mama did Twizzlers, and so I do Twizzlers. And you see all the little fizz right there? Yeah, boy. And then when it starts to get a little soggy, right, you lick the bottom off, which I know about that. So yeah, so that's why we're here, and that's why you're here with me. So hey, thanks for joining my little snack here. Let's sit down for some chats. So I'm gonna try to timestamp this, and so I wanted to talk about a couple of things that I haven't done a review for yet and may not get around to it. So I thought I would just kind of catch up on a couple of things. And talk about a couple of shows that I watch but I don't really review on a regular. Okay, let's just be honest. Y'all know a girl has, if you've been here before or you've seen any of my content before, I'm real irregular with dropping content because I got a full-time job that I work pretty much 50 plus hours a week and 2 kids, and so stuff happens. I got sick for a whole month and I lost my voice and I sounded a hot mess. So I was like, I'm not about to get in here and be snotting and everything else on camera. And I was sick for a whole month. So around the time that my usual things like Handmaid's Tale came out, and I was done. I was like laid out in the flesh, in the spirit. My spirit man was done. It was bad. So yeah, hence the fact that I don't have any earlier reviews, and I don't know, I always say I'm going to go back and review, and then that never happens because really, who wants to go back and watch an old review if the show has already progressed past that? The only time I think you can kind of do that is when you're going to do like a whole seasonal review. So like I will do a whole season review of Stranger Things because I did binge Stranger Things actually on July 4th, and despite the critics, I actually thoroughly enjoyed this season of Stranger Things. So I will do a whole breakdown of that, and I will talk a little bit about season 1 and 2 because I am kind of, I want to say, late getting to the Stranger Things bandwagon. Like when it first dropped, I was like, this is right up my alley. I'm a nerd. Like I'm a 80s baby and I'm a nerd, and this has and I'm a Stephen King fanatic. I read everything of his. I've watched pretty much every adaptation of his work. Steven Spielberg as well. Goonies is one of my favorite. Like, there's just every reason that show has every ingredient where I should be like a fanatic fan from jump, and I just could not get on season 1. So when season 1 aired 2 years ago, it was a summer. I was home. I don't even think I was working that summer, but we did just move that summer. And every time I just sat down to watch it, I would sit down and watch it. It would be late at night because I was like, well, it's scary and the kids are around. I can't really just get into that. And I would fall asleep, and it just wasn't, it was so slow moving. And there would be little things that I was like, oh, this is cute. It was cute, but I couldn't. And so then season 2 hit, but I hadn't finished season 1. So then season 2 hit, and I was like, I'm gonna go back and watch season 1. And so I would try to get past, and I never got past like episode 4. So then season 3 hit. I saw the promos, and I was like, it was giving me all kinds of Tiffany Mall concert feels. You think you're alone now. Doesn't seem to be, and you want around, and Robin Sparkles from How I Met Your Mother, right? And it was giving me like the colors were really bright, where the earlier season, it was like in that age of the 80s where things were starting to get kind of like starting to get there, but it was very kind of like still dull colors, still muted tones. This was right in the midst of like, we're exploding you with neons. Punky Brewster, y'all remember Punky Brewster? Every little girl wanted to be Punky Brewster, walking around with a little bandana tied around her leg and everything. And Punky was my girl. So it was, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my life together and watch it. So watched season 2, tried to pick up season 1 here and there, but I still haven't gone through all of season 1. But I watched enough of all of the online stuff to kind of, okay, I'm good. Let's watch season 2, and then I binged season 3. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I thought, to me, it was much more engaging. I know the hardcore season 1, season 2 fans, some of them were disappointed. But I think I could see that this season was more for a mass audience. And ultimately, we all want our show that we fall in love with. Like when we get on the bandwagon from jump, we want people to stay with it. We want the show to stay the same. We don't want it to change. We don't want it to change for the sake of getting more fans. But ultimately, we have to remember the medium that this is for. And so I think I saw the same thing happen with The Walking Dead, because I was a Walking Dead head from jump. From gate, I became a prepper. We had a little bug out bag, a little bug out container, so we were ready to go. If ish hit the fan, we'd be ready. We got a crossbow. Shout out to my big bro for giving us the crossbow. We had our little machetes. We were ready. But as the show progressed and it changed, things became, you're like, oh, I'm disappointed in this. And that's going to happen because you fall in love with how the show was when you came to it. And however it came to it, that's how you want it to stay. But life changes. And so I'll talk more about Stranger Things later. Another show that I watched recently, I watched the movie Beats with Anthony Anderson in it. And I don't remember the young man's name who was in Beats with him. This is why we have devices. We can pull this stuff up. Because he's a new actor. Khalil Everage. I don't know if it's Everage, maybe Everage. I was trying to be fancy. I don't think it was. I think it's Everage. Khalil Everage. Anthony Anderson and Uzo Aduba, um, who were in it. And I don't really know. I haven't heard much about it. I actually saw it. Of course, advertised on Netflix. So I was like, oh, this looks really, really good. And it was a really decent film. It was definitely, I thought, in the right medium of Netflix, but it was good. It was very much in the same vein of like showing us the life of like how crime is impacting just the everyday people in Chicago. And so it's about this young man who witnesses his sister's murder, and he himself is a victim of gun violence. And he goes into PTSD shock. He can't interact with the outside, so he stops going to school. But he is like a savant when it comes to making music and making beats. And so Anthony Anderson's character, who plays a security guard at the school, tries to go and get him back to school, finds out that he has this talent. He himself used to be a music manager and tries to get him to come out of his shell so that he can begin to manage his music career. And then you have Uzo Aduba from Orange is the New Black, who plays his mother. And she does a very good job playing his mother in that. Although I kept thinking when I watched it that I hate it for her that she is of that age where she can play a person who is the mother of a teenager, but she and I are not that far apart in age. I think maybe she's a little older than me. She doesn't have kids to my knowledge. And so I kind of hope that Hollywood sees her, because I think she can be, there's so much you can do with someone like her. And she's been kind of being cast as these motherly figures. She was in Candy Jar, which was also a Netflix movie like that came out last year. And so I just hope they do something more with her. But it was nice to see her in a dramatic role, because as Crazy Eyes in Orange is the New Black, she kind of is like the comic relief in one sense. And I think that is even different for her. So, and I hope that people do something. They do something with her voice, because she's an amazing singer. So anyhow, I'm not going to give you the whole spoilery review, but the movie was extremely good. And for the life of me right now, I cannot remember. There's a scene where there is an actual like female rap artist, and I can't think of her name, but she is a real female rapper because I've seen her on some stuff, and I was like, yes, like just the fact that we weren't seeing someone rapping on top of his beat that was like a recycling of Cardi and Nicki, because really the Chicago rap scene is very overlooked, and underappreciated. That's how I wanted to say that, because Chicago rappers, if you follow people like Chance or somebody big like No Name, and I don't want to. I feel like Rhapsody is out of Chicago, but I'm not 100% sure. But just in that vein of those rappers that are coming out of Chicago now are very much more in like the lyrical vein, and not just the trap of this. I hate. Oh gosh, I hate saying that because I'm from the South, and so for all intents and purposes, I should appreciate trap music more. But I wish that the trap beats and the lyricism could kind of be more in sync. Anywho, she was really, the young lady they had playing that character was really, really good, and it was a sweet movie. The one thing I did not like about it is I don't know if the young man who played the character, if he was actually like someone who makes beats and that's why they picked him, or it was just because of his um, acting capabilities. Probably shouldn't be drinking the ginger ale, but it was such a mismatch of him and the young lady who was his love interest. And please do not misunderstand what I'm about to say, but she was a very attractive, very pretty young lady playing his love interest. And he is a very nice looking young man, but the levels of outer attractiveness are not equal. And at the same time, he's playing a very broken individual. And so it just kind of bothered me that here again we're seeing this instance of kind of a more put together woman having to perhaps not lessen her standards because there was a whole history behind the two of them, which I think led to them having that love interest. But the pairing wasn't equal. It wasn't equal. And if I had a daughter, I would want her to elevate her choices and know that she does not, that while it's great if you have an established relationship to wait on someone, if you don't, you are allowed to go out into the world and find someone who matches your level of everything, whether it's intellect, whether it's finances. You have the right to not even level up, as Sierra would say, but just to have someone who is equal partners with you. And that wasn't an equal partnership. So suffice it to say, I gave it a thumbs up on Netflix, not just because it was a black film, but because it was a good movie, especially in comparison to a lot of the movies that are out there. It had a very good story arc. I actually kind of wanted more because there's so much that's left unsaid about the what happens with the characters, and so I definitely wanted more. And it's almost one of those premises that I could see this being a series arc. There's so much more, and I think you could see that the character going into different circumstances. You think about all of the characters in TV that have some kind of PTSD or some kind of mental illness, like, but have these incredible abilities. Like you have the House, and you have the Good Doctor, and all those types of characters where there's plenty that you can do with them. And so instead of something like, where we have Empire that's going away, I could definitely see this being the new Empire, like seeing this young man navigate the music world. So that's it about Beats. All right, the other thing that I'm going to talk to now, which if you stuck with me this time, might be the thing that you're waiting for, is for me to talk about Pose. All right, so I'll give you a little quick back history with me and Pose. So I don't have cable. Everything that I watch comes on Netflix or Hulu, or I borrow my mama and my daddy's direct TV login because they don't use any of them. And so the ones that are like the TV pairings that allow you to log in with your cable or direct TV, I just use theirs. And that's how I watch Cloak and Dagger. However, even though I heard about Pose when it came out, for whatever reason, I don't know, FX is just one of those channels that I don't think about because it wasn't, I think by the time FX became a really, really, really big thing, I had stopped with cable. So I didn't think about Pose. I didn't think about like, oh, I'm going to log in and check this out. So I did not watch Pose until it came on Netflix. And I saw it was on Netflix, and I saw the little thumbnail, and I was like, oh, this is like right up my alley. Like, I like stuff like this. And I had seen Paris is Burning, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch Pose. And that was good. I was like, okay, Ryan Murphy, because I love me some Ryan Murphy. I mean, who didn't love Glee? I just dropped a piece of my Twizzler, and that's sad. I gotta pick it up before my dog tries to eat it. Anywho, so I fell in love with Pose. Blanca, Angel, Ricky, Poppy, Miss Electra, Pray Tell. Okay, Billy Porter, I see you. So it was just a great show. Now, I will say this season one, I guess this will be my breakdown of season one. There were things that I did not like about season one, namely the amount of attention that was played. I can't speak today, y'all. The amount of attention that was paid to the character, what's that man's name? What is that man's name? Angel's boyfriend, whatever his name is. Let's see if I can find it on here real quick, because he's on American Horror Story all the time. See, only thing is I feel like here now it's not going to tell me on this. I gotta log into I don't even know if I have Oh, Silk Browser. Okay, we'll come back to it. Dawson's Creek, Dawson, and the other dude who plays Quicksilver in in the X Men. In the X Men, that young man, Evan something, right? I didn't like that. I was fine with us getting snippets of his life because of his attraction to Angel and developing him as a character so we wouldn't just see him as a John who was manipulating her while hiding his own sexual identity. But I felt like the whole use of Dawson was just a ploy. Like they didn't trust that the characters involved with the ballroom life. And this is just my opinion, but I genuinely felt like when I watched this, I was like, you wanted to get his. And I know Ryan. Okay, pause. Let me just say this. Okay, I know that a lot of things can be true. More than one thing can be true at the same time. So it can be true that Ryan Murphy is the type of a director that likes to reuse and to use his friends and people he's worked with before again and again to keep them working, and also because he's developed a relationship and a friendship with them. That is true on this part. But I also think that it is true that with someone like Dawson, James Vanderbeek, that he's a big nostalgic name in the business. It's not like he's been doing a whole lot of ton of stuff, because I don't think he's done anything since Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 103 or something like that, or 101 or whatever the name of the show was with Jessica Jones chick. I don't know if he's done anything since that. But you throw a name like that and maybe people will watch it just because it's James Vanderbeek. I get it. But I just felt like it was like more of, I don't trust, because we have all these newcomers involved, that I don't really trust them to hold the show and to get in the fans on their own. So let me put these other names in it to draw attention, and namely to draw attention from straight audiences. Because let's be honest, you put a show like Pose on, you say Billy Porter, you say Janet Mock, you say Ryan Murphy, the LGBT plus people are going to watch. It's visibility, it's interest, it's intrigue. It didn't matter if they knew them or not. They were going to watch. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but I feel like they were going to watch because it's on a mainstream non-Bravo network, and it was pushing something that was nostalgic and something that people would be knowing about, so they were going to watch that. So then this is a ploy, in my opinion, to get outside viewership, and also, to throw it on to your people, and I get that. But it took away from it. I'm glad that they didn't go with that so far this season. I didn't want to see any more of it. I was done. It was sweet, but it was just confusing. Then the only thing that I really would have wanted to see was if, I'm gonna forget her name too, the little young lady who played the wife, to have seen her and reclaiming her ability, maybe befriend Angel, because you do see things like that happen, I think, in real life, where like the two women kind of meet up and become friends, especially when, as Angel told her, in my mind, it wasn't anything about you. I wasn't even thinking about who you were or hurting you. I was only thinking about the fact that I needed love and I had not had love. So I digress. I think they could have had without us getting all the glimpses in their life, because it was just too much. It was too much taken away from the storylines of the other characters that I wanted to find out more about. Because to this date, we still haven't we've seen Damon and how he got there. We haven't seen anything about Ricky, and perhaps their storylines are very similar, but we really didn't get much backstory about Ricky. We didn't get a whole lot of backstory about Poppy. We didn't get a whole lot of backstory that we could have gotten more of about Pray Tell. So really the only people who've gotten like significant backstory about is Blanca, Damon, and that's really pretty much like backstory, like where they were, like their families, and now. So anyway, that's how I felt about season 1. And then season 2 dropped, and I don't even know if I knew that season 2 was dropping. It was just that I started after I binged season 1, I started to consume so much stuff that was like um, build interviews and Paley Fest or whatever, like all kinds of stuff about the actors and actresses and interviews by them. So I started like binge watching that on YouTube, and then lo and behold, one of the YouTubers that I follow who happens to review Pose happened to post something about it, and I was like, oh, okay, we're back out. But again, I wasn't thinking, hey, you can log in to FX, the FX app, using mommy and daddy's info, and you can, I know, okay, pause. I know I am a grown woman using my mom and dad's login. Continue. Okay, so anyhow, so that happened, and I was like, oh man, I've missed it. So I happened to go home to my parents' house, home, not to the house that I own with my husband and my 2 children, and I watched episode episodes 1 and 2 because they were both out. Episodes 1 and 2 were out. So the one where Blanca was trying to get her little nail salon and whatnot, and all that good stuff was going on. Okay, so then I missed episode 3, but of course I heard everything about it, and then I knew that it was based on the real life situation that happened with Octavia. So I knew what happened, and I missed that. All right, so bring us back to Thursday, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be visiting soon, so I'll go home and watch it. And I was like, oh, okay, we had a 2-week hiatus. Let me watch some clips from Pose. I ended up remembering and logging in and watching the whole episode. So now we get to what you're here to see. Episode 4, Pose, Season 2, Never Knew Love Like This Before. And I don't even know if I can really talk about this episode because I feel so many things about it. So first of all, I thought that this storyline, which also comes based off of one the real life tragedy of Venus Extravaganza from Paris is Burning, who was a young woman, a young trans woman who was very big on the ballroom scene, doing very well for herself, and ended up being murdered, and her body was found 3 days after under a bed. Everyone has said that. So by now, if you don't know that, I'm sorry for you. Okay, so when I started seeing that a lot of the storylines, the situations, and just in general, realizing how much they were really basing a lot of this off of that Paris is Burning. And I would imagine that eventually we'll get to more current day ballroom, and that will be interesting because the actress that plays Electra has done ballroom in its more modern iteration, so she would be able to actually voice real life examples about that. So when I realized that, I knew that they were going to at some point in time do Venus's story, but I don't know about the rest of you, but I really kind of thought that was going to be what was going to happen with Angel. And although I would not be ready for that, sorry, I'm moving out of my lighting here. Although I would not be ready for that, I kind of was mentally preparing myself for it because Angel has constantly got herself into situations with people who were very shady, and she is very naive. So you have everything from that relationship to the photographer who was taking her pictures, and she's constantly kind of falling into these trappings where because she is so sweet and innocent, even though she's worldly in many ways, she's very naive and very sweet and angelic, and like her name says. And so I just thought that was going to be her. I thought, oh well, yeah, something's going to happen with this modeling thing, and she's going to go back to the piers, and somebody's going to get her, and that's what's going to happen. And I just kind of was readying myself for that. So I did not see this episode coming. So it began with the ballroom, and pray tell is, they're doing one of the categories, and it's like uh Vogue, but with for like real men, for like masculine men, for b-ballers. And so they're voguing, but they're breakdancing, and it's they working it, and they're hitting those angles, but they're break spinning and everything else, and everybody is going getting their best life. And then here comes Miss Candy coming in like she the queen, Madonna, with her little Vogue outfit, with her pinstripes on, and her little and it made me think, the way she looked in it, it made me think of Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. Do you guys remember that movie? I love that movie so much. Oh my gosh, I love that movie. That used to be my junk. I used to watch that, like it would come on USA all the time, and I would watch it all the time. Anywho, so of course that's not the category, but being that they were doing a Vogue category, Candy is always wrong in her categories. She was always wrong in her categories, but it was kind of cute. Like, it was kind of cute to see like her playing it up, and everybody was like, "Okay, girl, work it. You got your little ponytail, hey, swish swish." And then Pray Tell proceeds to read her. And they have always just had such a contentious relationship. But I will say this: for as much as I love me some Billy Porter, I love me some Billy Porter. He has literally one of the best Broadway voices per okay, hands down. His voice is just amazing. And I've watched him in different things because I subscribe to all these Broadway YouTube channels and things, because secretly at heart, if I could sing and dance and had any kind of entertaining musical talent, that's my dream, is to be like mixing it up with like Lin-Manuel and Billy Porter, and Eva Noblezada, and all these people who are big stars on Broadway now. Leah Salonga, all those people. I just, that's my vision, but it's not gonna happen for me because I can't carry a tune in a bucket. So, anywho, he is reading her left and right, and then they bring out the score. It's just like 5-5-0, And I was like, man, and that's the part that I hate the most about the show, because he reads her so hard sometimes, and sometimes it's very comedic, but then sometimes when you actually can see, and Angelica Ross does this thing where, I don't think she's the best actress, but there are times when you can see it behind her eyes. And it's like the pain in her soul that she's feeling when he's crushing her dreams. You can see it, and it puts this little lump in your throat, and you're just like, I can't, because I'm gonna cry, because I feel her pain. And okay, this has to be said. Obviously, I like Candy because she is one of the few dark-skinned actresses, and she's certainly a little bit more tolerable than Electra's character, because Electra's just too extra. Like, the way she talks is extra, the way she looks is, like, everything about her is extra. So anywho, progresses. Prey gets together with the rest of the guys on the board, and they're going to talk about different categories. And so then Candy overhears, and it's like, gotta do a lip sync category. And then her and Prey get into it, and she threatened to cut him with a butter knife, and they go into it some more. And then we don't see Candy anymore. And then Lulu tries to find Candy. Blanca calls this hotel where they last saw her at, and long story short, Candy has been killed, and they find her body in the closet. And so Blanca has to tell everybody, and yes, I was not here for any of that. So then they have the funeral, and then they do this whole like magical realism thing where Candy's spirit starts speaking to everybody at the funeral and kind of saying her last words, because she never got to have last words, never got to really say what she felt, what was on her mind. And it's there's one point where Pray Tell he mentions the fact that he didn't like Candy, and I thought that was important, because as much as there are times when I adore Candy, let's not mix it up. Like, there are times when Candy is horrible. Like, very early on, the very first episode of the show, when Blanca Electra finds out that Blanca is searching for apartments and she wants to start her own family and her own house. Like Candy is like cutting Blanca, calling her a boy in a, I don't know if he calls her a boy in a, I don't know if she calls her a boy in a dress or calls her like something, like basically saying she's not a real woman, and calls her that. And I'm just like, don't be okay. So from jump, she was already set up to be like an antagonistic character. Um, but it was so surreal, so sad, and I was doing okay. I was holding it in. Her mama and daddy came. The daddy got me more than the mama, although when the mama was like, I found, why did it take me so long to see you? But the dad made me really sad, and it reminded me of what happened with Damon, because it's kind of like there's this idea that you have one parent who really wants to accept the child and the other one doesn't, and the other parent just kind of gives in to that parent, and I kind of felt like that's what happened with them. And the reverse happened with Damon, where when we saw Damon get kicked out of his house, the dad was like, I want him out of his house, and the mama went after him. And then she was more upset about, I think, him bringing the porn magazine into the house than actually like him being gay, I guess. I don't know. But not my child. Look, not my child. You're not gonna be hitting on my child and kicking my child out the house. I'll be out the house with my child. That's my child. They came out of me. So, long story short. So then we get to the very end. And they're giving the eulogy and all that good stuff, and Blanca doing the little lighter thing for Candy, and then we get to the end. Well, to the end of this part, and this was a long episode. I mean, it was a normal episode, but I swear, like even up to this point, and then there was more after, and I was like, dang, that wasn't the end. So then they announced that Candy is going to take her last walk or whatever. Child, and this is where stuff got real rough for me, because up until this point, let me tell you what was going on with me. So I said I was sick for a whole month, right? So that whole week before this came out, my eye was doing something funky where it literally was just like running. Like it wasn't burning, it wasn't itching, it was just this eye. It was like literally just tearing up, but it wasn't even like getting like across my eye, like tearing up. Like when I cry, my whole eye, like it's like it cries from the top of my eye right here and it goes down. It was just like my eye was just leaking, and it's still doing it a little bit. And so I was like, oh, I wonder if I have a clogged duct. What is going on here? So I was already trying to make an appointment to go see the doctor. Child, and I watched this scene. I made it through this whole show, and then I get to the scene, and then all of a sudden they wheel the casket into the ballroom. So already I was like getting choked up. Then they open the casket. Then Candy stepped herself out that casket with that long hair, looking like Miss Stephanie Mills herself from back in the day. And can't nobody tell me nothing. I know I'm not really old enough to know Stephanie Mills. Like I know Stephanie Mills, but I know Stephanie Mills, okay? When I tell you that everybody else was loving Whitney Houston, I loved Stephanie Mills, okay? When I tell you, like when I finally got her best of CD, I had the tape. I wore that mess out to the ground. Like everything, like I never knew love like this before. Like, so all of a sudden you hear the little ding, ding, and I was like, then I was like, okay. And she steps out and she starts lip syncing, singing her life away. And then I just started to cry, and that was it. I was like, I'm so glad I did not do a reaction to this. I was crying, and it was so funny because the kids were out here and they had their little headphones on and they were watching it, but I'm watching this and I'm just like, my whole face is burning because I'm trying not to cry, but it's just like I'm crying and I was like trying not to do that thing where when you cry and you choke and you like can't, and then you gasp and then you start crying more. It was horrible. But it was so beautiful. She walked around and everybody was like, applauding her and clapping, and then like went to Electra. And there is this moment. I want you to go back and look at the clip because FX has released it, where she goes over to Electra because she goes by to everybody who was like in her house or who was related to her on the show, and stops and pauses and like hugs them or grabs their hand or just something. And this is her goodbye. Angelica Ross is dead off the show. Candy is dead. Angelica Ross, and we're going to talk about this in our next segue, is going to be on the next season of American Horror Story. But she goes over to Electra, and there's this look that Electra gives her where it's like proud, like a sense of pride. But also, me personally, this is my interpretation, I felt like we were seeing not Electra but Dominique look at her as like she was not happy. Like she was not happy that this woman who she's probably developed a relationship with is leaving. And it was like this sense of, I'm proud of you as the character and as your friend, but I'm not happy. And you ever have those moments like that where your friend goes off to do something else and they move away and you're happy for them, you're proud of them, but it's like something behind your eyes where it's like not towards them, but just like where you felt like it could have been another way. And that's how I interpret it. And she went around to Blanca and Lulu, and Blanca was like, you that one girl, you that one, okay, like we gonna, from now on, this is gonna be you. And so, they had that category. If that category is gonna be a part of the show, I hope that they actually do make it a part of the show and we get the chance to hear them like say at least a few times, even if it's just once or twice, that this is Candy's, show. And they could even do a musical episode where they all lip sync and make it like the whole thing. That would be a nice little, so that we don't forget the importance that she played in the show. But of course they go back, they have their little family meals and whatnot, and Pray Tell. Oh, and there was of course the whole side story with Pray Tell and them trying to get him to take that medicine and him refusing, and now he's gonna finally take the medicine so he can try to live, because you gotta live in order to pose. So that's it for Pose. So I don't know that I will start reviewing Pose, because one of the things I did not want to do, like I said, when I just started watching it this summer when they dropped it on Netflix, and what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to be talking about Pose in a way where I'm taking away from many of the reviewers who have been reviewing it from Jump, or some of the LGBT community reviewers who are able to speak about some of the issues in a more nuanced and educated way. But I will say this, I know that there's been a ton of backlash among Black reviewers who have been reviewing it and talking about the use of colorism. And I think that the conversation of colorism in the show could have, should have, and should still continue beyond Angelica Ross's departure. But I will say this, while I do think subconsciously that is an issue, not subconsciously and consciously, implicit and explicit, implicit bias. So implicit bias, internalized bias, where we see these characters like Electra, like Candy, and like Pray Tell, the three Black dark-skinned characters that are louder. You have Damon, who's very much light-skinned. You have Ricky, who is darker skinned, but he's also the playboy running the streets, cheating, kind of, they do give him, he's not as innocent as Damon. So colorism is definitely a conversation that could and should be had as this show progresses, and as perhaps they bring on some fresh faces to fill the void of some of the characters that I'm sure that they will lose along the way, because let's face it, the time period that it's based in, the AIDS epidemic is still going on, and you do have still these trans women who are being killed. But that brings us to the narrative, which is, I think that, and I can't help but wonder if initially this storyline was, like I thought, going to be given to Angel's character, and then what happened was Angelica Ross needed to be able to work on other things, and also wanted to break away from where she was going to be able to play now on um, American Horror Story, a non-trans character. And so being able to be seen as just an actress and opening those doors for her, and so she needed to step away from a role where she was playing a trans character to be in that space. And so they said, well, what's a way that we could have this character move on, because we haven't set up anything in this character's life that would cause her to move on other than her untimely death. Because let's face it, people, if you're in that kind of a scene and she's not working, like they've not established her having a job, a career where she would get a job someplace else and go. She hasn't been modeling in the way that Angel has, so there is no reason. You have Damon and Ricky, who were doing dancing for Albie Shore. Like, there are characters that could leave the show based off of things that they have set up previously, and she is not one of those characters. So I think that it kind of, her departure, it necessitated this happening. And I would dare say, the way that the show went and how fast it is into the season, that it probably wasn't even initially meant to be this early on. I would dare to say that perhaps this was a storyline that was meant for much later in the show. Me personally, I'm just conjecturing, but that's what I think. So while I do think colorism plays a role in how the characters themselves were created and assigned, and even they touched on it briefly with the conversation that she and Lulu had, where Lulu says, you were always jealous of me because I was light and thick. And it's not, and that's a place to go further, because it's not just about her being jealous of Lulu because she was light and thick and she played up those attributes. It's, you're light and thick, and look at the way that Pray Tell read her and said, I read you this way because you were black and loud and femme and proud of it. And those are all the things that the world tries to tell black women that they should not be. You should not be loud. Look, I'm constantly monitoring myself in public to make sure I don't come across as too loud and too ghetto, because I'm dark skinned and I'm thick and heavy and I have a wide nose. But I am naturally, it's in my family line. Like, I don't think it's assigned to all black people, but in my family, we're loud. You have to be loud or you will not be heard. You have to be loud or you will be looked over and forgotten, like little Kevin McAllister up in that attic. You have to be loud or you will be left home alone. So, not in my nuclear family, because it wasn't a lot of us there, but in terms of my bigger family, when we're around each other, you just have to be loud and say, hey, see me. And so there's a conversation to be had for that. There's a conversation to have about having a mixture of characters. But I also think that in this space, it will be difficult to do that because ballroom is such a loud thing. But I do think that probably if they were to bring, because there's no dark-skinned females in Blanca's house, that if they were to bring a dark-skinned, maybe quieter character that we get to see them transform, that would be a nice touch, to be someone who maybe parallels Angel's character, maybe in the sense that, well, as Angel is going away, she will come and fill the void. Just a suggestion, who knows. So that's what I think. I do think that Angelica's death, not just her going to work on American Horror Story, but just in general, I think that had less to do with color and more just the crafting of the characters as a whole, that needed to be more nuanced. And this was just kind of like, it just so happened that this was how, and I think that it was deliberate that it was her at that point, because I think where they might have initially kind of said, hey, we have these characters and it could go, this death could go to either one. I think if it went to Lulu doesn't have a personality. Nobody would personally, I don't think, really care if this happened to Lulu. It could happen to one of the main characters or to like Angel, but there's only so many characters, and Candy to me is a main character because her personality does stand out. So I think it could only go to a couple of characters. It was timely that it happened, and this has been a record year for trans women being killed. And though the trans women that are being killed are predominantly black, dark skinned trans women, they're not light skinned or or very, very women who pass as Electra would say in the same way. Although she be reading when she said that, because Angelica could pass. Because I'm gonna tell you what, when I tell you that she looked, I'm about to put this picture up. She looks just like Stephanie Mills from back in the day. All right, so that was Pose. So yeah, guys, I think that's it. I talked about what Pose. Oh, so I guess last two things. Um, the Lion King is coming out. There's everybody and their mama who gets the big reviews have already reviewed it. I'm kind of frustrated because I don't know if usually when they have like the Marvel movies, they're allowed to do an opinion based review, but not like an in depth review before it actually hits nationwide. And usually you'll see them release like a 2 minute hot take review on what they thought about it before it comes out, and then a lengthier one. But I have seen tons of these reviewers reviewing like The Lion King in depth and going in depth about it. um my behind's still gonna see it. I love Lion King. I love most of the voice actors in this iteration, and I did not have any kind of high ideals of them adding a bunch of stuff. I kind of went in, I'm kind of going in knowing, like, from jump, if you saw the trailer, oh, this is going to be shot for shot the same. Just like Beauty and the Beast was pretty much shot for shot the same. And the stuff that they added in Beauty and the Beast did not add anything to the movie. And I wasn't expecting them to do that any differently for The Lion King. And I saw the Jungle Book, so I already know to anticipate what it's going to look like in terms of the animal faces and the singing and the lack of emotion because they're animals. So while I am anticipating to feel more for the animation, because Jungle Book did have at least a human character to kind of play off of, and this doesn't, I'm not going in with any kind of unrealistic expectations. So I'm anticipating still enjoying the heck out of this and taking my kids to see it. I don't know, I'm kind of worried about taking the kids to go see lions killing each other, though. They've seen the cartoon, but there's no blood or anything like that in the cartoon. So I might go see that one by myself and then, get my best life and then go take them to see it. And what else? The Lion King, Ariel, Halle Bailey, yes. If you still got problems with it, I'm sorry. You're stupid. Look at that little girl's face. She looks like Ariel in the face. Everything but that melanin in her skin. Her little eyeballs look just like Ariel's. She looks like a whole behind Disney princess. I'm about to get my best life. I'm about to go get some when it comes out. I'm gonna have some faux locks in my hair and have on a purple outfit because I can't wear clamshells because I'm a teacher. And I'm gonna find some little. I'm fine. I'm gonna take my niece, somebody. We're gonna go see this movie and we're gonna sing it and we're gonna get our best life. Yes, I'm here for it. And I'm all for mixing the cast up. Heck, I hope they find them a little singing Asian man to play Prince Eric. Yes, a little K-pop boy or something. I'm here for it. I think it'll be beautiful. Or a little Hispanic boy, whatever works, whatever floats your boat. I think it should. Yes, just make it beautiful. And if Idris want to play Daddy, we had the locks in like he did in Thor and stuff, King Triton, I'm all for it. Um, so Little Mermaid, Lion King. What else? What else am I missing? What else am I missing? I feel like there's something else that I'm missing. I don't know. But anyhow, thank you for joining me for my almost hour long 1 year anniversary video. We have talked about a lot. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I didn't drive you crazy. I didn't even eat hardly any of my Twizzlers. So now I have to try to eat my Twizzlers. But if you like this video and you want to see more content, please like and subscribe. I promise you that they will not be quite this long. But I do try to make them somewhat engaging. I will, of course, sometime Wednesday or Thursday, release my next Handmaid's Tale video. I think I'm also going to do a quick little story time and review for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I watched it when it came out in theaters, and it is now up on Netflix, and I have a really funny story about what happened when I went to go see it, and the reason why I'm going to release a review for it now and why I did not release one then. So I think I'm going to do something like that this week, and I may also do Mary Poppins too. But if I don't like it, I might not review it because it's got Lin-Manuel Miranda in it, and I love him, and I won't be able to say anything bad about him. If it's bad, I won't be able to say anything bad about Lin because I love, like, he's a whole lemon roll. Like, I love Lin, and he's my imaginary BFF. So if I don't put up that video, then you'll know that that was why. So yeah, until next time, guys, please like, comment, subscribe, share, do whatever you gotta do to join the conversation. We have grown to 16 subscribers in a year. Yay! Thank you to everybody who subscribes. My videos have been watched, I think, almost 1,000 views total for my videos, which, considering how sporadic they are, I consider that a win. So we're just over here having a good time. I'm not expecting this to be, if it grows, it grows, but I just wanted to talk to you guys and enjoy having good conversations. So let me know down in the comments below what you thought about any of the things that I talked about today, if you've seen any of the shows or the movie that I talked about. And until next time, guys, toodles!